right, and so, I mean, the conversation is on, and we're counting down to September, and hopefully, you know, we would see that IPO by Dangote. Now, to our next conversation, doesn't have to do with oil, it's non-oil export. A report that has been shared by 3T Imperial, their findings when it comes to non-oil exports. We see that even though confidence is increasing, in that, and when we look at the trades, exporter confidence and global demand, they've reached record highs. Severe structural bottlenecks, and specifically skyrocketing logistics and energy costs, they're actively neutralizing those gains, pushing smaller exporters out of the market, unfortunately. So looking at the skyrocketing data, we see data from 87,824 export transactions between 2021 and 2024-5. That's what has been used for this report. And what it reveals is, alongside a detailed sentiment survey of 94 active non-oil exporters across Nigeria's geopolitical zones, the findings present a stark 75-point chasm between market and ambition and operational reality. There's high confidence amidst the logistics crisis. Business confidence we saw, according to report, at 87 strong, at 87.8. Predictive outlook scored an exceptional 92.8. That's as 83% respondents plan to invest and expand their capacity. Logistics benchmark index. Logistic benchmark index actually plummeted to a low of 12.8 out of 100. That's the weakest index in the entire study. And then there's a staggering 77.7% of exporters who reported increased inland transport and port handling costs over the period. And exporters are confident that market-facing and growing would continue, but there's logistics benchmark of 12.8 seems to be a big one that might deter that growth trajectory. Well, the author of this report joins us this morning, the Chief Executive Officer and Lead Consultant at 3T Impex Trade Academy, Mr. Bamidele Ayemibo. Mr. Ayemibo, thank you for sharing your findings with us. And we hear logistics just screaming out loud, big threats, and we don't seem to see a solution anywhere close. But tell us more about this report, how you gathered it, so we can know the reliability of your findings.
All right, thank you very much. Number one, like you said, it has two parts to it. The first part is about transactions from Nigeria, and the data available, I mean, the law of data organization, both particularly outside Nigeria, that are able to trace a lot of transactions leaving Nigeria, both the official and non-official, even though we focus our attention on the official. And then in the bid to validate some of this information, we decided to talk to exporters, and we talked about 94 of them, and to be able to ascertain what the data is saying. And it basically revealed the fact that there is demand for our products, the opportunity is there for Nigerian exporters, but the fact that a number of exporters are unable to continue in this business. You know, if you look at that data, about 2,800 businesses have exported in Nigeria in the last 5 years. But do you know that only less than 1,000 of them exported last year? But the good thing is, which I must commend NEPC for, is the fact that we are still able to grow our exports to about 6.1 billion. So there have been a growth trajectory, but it looks to me like we might plateau very soon if we don't increase the number of businesses also. And one of the reasons why a lot of businesses are dropping off is what the report shows, which is the cost of energy, and of course, which also dovetail into manufacturing and logistics, and hindering the businesses from growing. And you observe that the people that are able to grow and have stayed for long are the big guys. We call them the mega, those that are doing over $5 million per annum. And the reason is because they have the fund to be able to cushion the effect of this logistic challenge and energy costs on their business.
So you talked about energy and then the logistics. How much disruption have we had from the Middle East, the Strait of Hormuz? How much of that is feeding into this problem, or are these issues that have been existing before February 28th?
No, this issue has been existing before February 28th, but because some of the people we spoke with also were after February 28th, even though it started since January, but some of you spoke with it after February 28th. But since the devaluation of Naira that have caused the imported inflation and the fact that we are still importing this petroleum, and of course, like reported, Dangote, even though we have the refinery function in Nigeria right now, we're still importing some of these items, and Dangote is not getting all the crude oil it needed from Nigeria. You have to import, so that contributes to the cost, why I can't sell at the price it would have probably want to sell. So the price increase caused by the, of course, Strait of Hormuz contributes significantly to this, no doubt. But this happened also before then, because we already have another devaluation that also affected manufacturers and, of course, the cost of logistics.
So, dealing with the internal logistics now, a lot of times when you talk about the logistical challenge, we talk about infrastructure. How much of this logistic challenge and this hurdle or possible disruption to this growth trend can be connected to infrastructure? How much of it is outside infrastructure?
Outside infrastructure, they are mainly dependent on infrastructure, in my opinion, because if I'm bringing goods to Lagos today, number one, the fact that I need to haul to Lagos is a challenge. The other ports in the country are not working. So even if I have a nearby port that I could have used, I will have to come to Lagos. So we are now building, I think, another one in Badagry now. So we have a lot of concentration in Lagos, and everybody have to haul to Lagos. Over 70-80% of shipment has to go out of Tinkan and Apapa alone. Over 70% Tinkan and Apapa alone. So the cost of moving the goods to those locations. But for most countries that are really growing trade very well, most of the time what you see is moving by rail. You know, at some point, I was talking to one of the operators of inland port in Nigeria, in the north, and I was saying, look, when you started, at least when the president came to commission your location, rail was working. He said, yes, but how is it now? He said, rail is not working, and they have to move by road. And I said, why? He said, because the railway corporation, they had some part of the track that had issues. They are collecting money, they are being paid for their services, but the track have issue, and the rail are no more getting to the port the way it was in the last administration. And it's nothing seems like much is being done about that. And that's contributing significantly, because if majority of our movement of goods is by rail, we will have significantly reduced this cost. I remember there was a time I wanted to export iron ore from Nigeria. At that point, the cost of the product was 7,000 per metric ton, and the cost of transport was 5,000 per metric ton. That's almost the cost of transport and the cost of the good itself. And now it's even worse right now. So it's making it, even for business, for product that would have been ordinarily been profitable, now the profit have been eroded significantly because of the cost of energy for manufacturers and the cost of logistics for others. So I think the infrastructure contributes significantly to this.
What about security? Because, I mean, also movement, whether it's on the rail or on the road, we know what the security is to. At least we hear some of the incidents about insecurity in the country.
Yeah, security is another challenge, but the way security affects is actually the cost of the product itself. Apart from the challenge of inflation, the fact that the farmers, some of them pay to be able to have access to the farm, as in they literally pay taxes to get access to the farm. The implication of that is they will transfer that cost to anybody they are selling to. And that's also affecting. And because it's commodity, that we are largely commodity exporters, even for the agri that we do, and even though NDPC reported that we now have about 50%, but the fact still remains that we're still doing a lot of commodity export. And the margin for commodity is very thin until you begin to add value, begin to have some mileage on it. So the security is actually affecting more on the pricing of the product itself, the cost of the product itself, because of the cost, additional cost they have to incur in securing their farm or whatever it is they are getting the product from and moving the good in transit.
So they say technology has the solution to everything now. If we look at these issues that we have when it comes to logistics, the infrastructure, the security, can technology prefer a lasting solution to this?
It can. If we are, number one, if we are willing to embrace it first of all, because I'm aware of the fact that we wanted to be tracking truck in transit for fuel distribution in the country, and that's not been fully implemented. I know Dangote probably have that on his truck, but when the issue of subsidy was on, it wasn't something we embraced. But this will be to be able to track for security issue and be able to identify the road and the security on the road for people to be able to move. I'm talking about where technology will come in now to be able to significantly reduce the cost. And the fact that with technology, I think the kind of technology like what we have for Uber might be a solution, because sometimes I want to get truck and I have just 2 or 3 people that will give me truck and they're giving me a particular price. If we have a kind of technology like Uber that make me to go on an app and I can see different truck owners giving different prices, maybe that might help me to also be able to deal with people who are competitive in the delivery, in the logistics services that they render. I think that way technology might be able to provide solutions to create competitiveness among the haulage company and the truck owners and be able to help those that are competitive to get more business.
Is it possible, so we don't put everything on the government, is it possible to say that there are incentives in this technology adoption to deal with the logistic challenge, so at least we can attract the private sector if it's going to be profiting, you know? Is that a possibility for us to move out of where we are in dealing with these logistics challenges?
I think so, because the rate at which people are sometimes businesses wait for 2-3 days to be able to get the kind of truck they want to be able to carry their goods. And I believe strongly if we have that kind of technology that everybody's aware of, just the way some of these Bolt, Uber and the like do their transaction, I feel strongly that it will be a very great incentive for them. And the fact that there is competition among the haulage firms, and that will also make it easier for them to get business, because sometimes also people don't know you exist, even though you have this service you render, and nobody knows that you have that, and your truck is probably even lying fallow because nobody is aware of what you're doing. I think it will be a very great incentive for those businesses that will come on board to be able to use this kind of application to get access to truck. It's not going to significantly reduce the cost. It will just create competition that will make it easier. Because sometimes, even when price of diesel comes down, some people will not reduce their price, and they will give different reasons for it. But if there is competition, I'm sure some will reduce their price to be able to get more people to come and use their own truck for the shipment.
Do we need a coordinator maybe from the government for something like this? Or you think individuals can just start, create a solution and then advertise it or publicize it, and hopefully, you know, markets will stream in? Do you think that can work?
I think eventually regulation might need to come in, maybe from Ministry of Transport, but I think it's something individual can do, is to be able to first of all identify who are the major haulage firms. And this is not just for Nigeria, within Nigeria, even to be able to go to nearby countries, because most of the shipment going to West Coast, Ghana, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, are also involved in this. And there are transport companies who only focus on West Africa, some to Central Africa, but North Africa now, I mean, going north is a bit challenging because of the Alliance for Sahel States and what is happening over there. So I think it's something individual can do, but there might be need for regulation over time to be able to ensure that nobody is being exploited and the environment is safe for businesses to be able to thrive.
Yeah, and but Mr. Ayubo, at the end of it, perception may be different from reality. So assuming that, you know, we have a solution on the way and all of that, how long do you think it will take for us to feed into the perception of this logistics challenge because it's been there for a very long time? So obviously it has fed into people's minds and perception. How can we move from, maybe first of all deal with it in reality and then deal with the perception of it? Because sometimes the perception even gives a worse picture than the reality.
You know, let me give an example of what you just said. There are people, even when Apapa became better in terms of gridlock, people will say traffic in Apapa, the issue in Apapa, traffic in Apapa, even when the problem has been fixed. So what you are saying is very important. But I think that it's just for the organization, whoever is coming up with this initiative, to be able to do a lot of publicity. among businesses, particularly the importers who will have to move container to the port, the exporter who will take container to the port. And the interesting thing is that the agency of government through which you can reach these people, because they are the major people that will need this. And of course, with working with MAN, for example, working with NASIMA, for example. So if they do a lot of publicity down to the organized private sector to be able to reach their member, we can significantly reduce those perceptions over time. But there will be need for a lot of publicity to be able to reduce, to be able to shape the mindset of people as far as perception of those logistics challenges are concerned.
All right, thank you so much for sharing your findings with us and preferring some of those solutions, Mr. Bamidele Ayemibo, the Chief Executive Officer and Lead Consultant at 3T Impex Trade Academy.
Thank you very much for having me, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.